Hello, and welcome to this free Thrive Today webinar on how can the relational skills make a difference in my counseling practice. My name is Christy Harang on behalf of the Thrive Today team. We're so glad to have you watching this if you are watching this recording. And, at Thrive Today, we train people in relational skills that help us in our lives and in our relationships. And we're talking today about the implications for these skills for those of you in the counseling arena. You might be a licensed therapist, a coach, a minister, a lay minister, but if you do counseling, walking people through the challenges, the pains, the tough stuff in life, then this is a webinar that is going to be a real blessing to you. We just want to begin a conversation and talking about how these relational skills can help you as a counselor and even transform your practice and the lives of the people that you're serving. So joining us today is our president and co-founder, Chris Coursey. And Chris has a real passion in this area, the counseling field. He actually got his start ministering to people who were walking through trauma and abuse, like the really, really tough stuff that a lot of us would shy away from. He also spent years pastoring a small congregation. So he has experience in the counseling arena, in the ministry arena, and for over or almost 25 years, he's been studying modern day brain science and looking at solutions and exercises to help all of us navigate life and thrive in our lives and in our relationships. So he has some really helpful insights for us in this or on this topic today. So Chris, so glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Christy. Very good to be here. I'm excited for our time today.
So I do want to mention that this webinar actually is being recorded. So this is not a live webinar, so we're not having live Q&A. But if you are really passionate about this topic, you're hungry to learn more, I'm going to mention this at the end, but I want to share it now, that you can go to bit.ly/Thrive Counselors. And this is a place where you can sign up to make sure you stay updated on resources and things that we're going to be offering for those of you who work in this counseling field. So be sure to do that if you want to stay updated on what we'll be having come out in the future. So let's see here. We're going to dive into just a few questions with Chris. So Chris, I was thinking about, counseling, coaching, ministry. There's a whole slew of resources and tools that people use. And I want to ask you, can you share with us, no matter what background someone's coming from or what resources that they use, how can the relational skills actually serve as a foundation in our practice? And how important are the relational skills in a counseling practice?
It's a great question, Christy. So as you said, this definitely is a passion of mine. When you really work with people who are hurting or struggling and you're trying to help them reach their life goals, there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of good resources, a lot of good approaches, but ultimately how well you can use those resources often comes down to the quality of your own relational skills. I can remember when I started out in counseling, I would do pretty good with people until they hit certain emotions like hopeless despair. And I didn't have the language at the time, but what I discovered was when people felt hopeless despair, I got very uncomfortable. I went from feeling peaceful and engaged and relational. I just actually found myself getting very uncomfortable, very tense, and just feeling like I'm missing something here and I don't quite know what it is, but it impacted how well I could join people in some of the hard stuff that they were working through. And what we now know from brain science is that your brain needs to learn specific relational skills, and how well you really can join people in their distress and help them navigate some of the hard stuff ultimately comes down to how well you can manage what you feel. So we now know how the brain, you as a counselor, as a coach, your brain is basically what's helping those that you serve better be able to regulate what they feel. And so I found, as many of us do when we first get into counseling of any sort, that I had the compassion, I had the heart, I had the desire, and I even had the willpower to be a very good resource for people. But at the end of the day, the rubber met the road with in terms of whatever relational skills I had at a given moment. And so why I'm excited about this topic, honestly, is because when you learn new relational skills that you're missing, or you strengthen those relational skills, you're going to get more mileage out of the resources and the tools and the approaches that you're using. So at the end of the day, how present, how focused, how joyful, how peaceful you are when you're helping people largely comes down to your own relational skills. So, Christy, this is an exciting topic because all of us, at the end of the day, all of us can improve the tools in our tool belt, and relational skills basically equip you to better serve those that you minister with, that you help, that you're counseling, and basically gives you the resources so that you can stay present. And basically, you're helping people better manage what they feel. In many ways, what counseling is you're really helping people to better manage what they feel, to be able to regulate their own emotions. And so how well you can regulate yours really sets the tone for those that you're helping. And so what we're going to talk about today is just one of those topics that I think people are going to find very helpful and very practical. You will better be able to use the techniques and the approaches that you are trained for when you have a full set of relational skills. And that's good news.
Yeah, that's really good news. Very encouraging. And I know I've definitely experienced that myself, like learning these things. And, my husband and I, we've done a lot of counseling in different ministry. And when we started understanding even something like the skill of appreciation and incorporating appreciation into ministering to people and helping get all of us in like a good spot before dealing with tough stuff.
Yes.
Wow. That made all the other tools we would use in helping people walk through pain so much better just by incorporating, say, appreciation or different skills. So yeah, these seem to be like not just niceties, but necessities, right? To have success in helping people.
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it, Christy. And that, when I was working with Jim Wilder when we were developing the Thrive training, what we had a lens that we realized, people need foundational skills. As counselors, we need foundational skills. For those that we serve, foundational skills are necessary that we can build on and then learn some of the more complex skills. So like with Thrive, we have a growth track. How do we grow capacity? How do we build joy? And how do we really strengthen our nervous system to then better handle the hard stuff? So, the first track of Thrive is all about what do I need to thrive? What are those capacity building skills? The second track is all about now, how do I learn to return to joy and recover from the hard stuff, right? So you need the capacity before you can effectively help people get back to joy. And then our third track is basically how to help people get unstuck. So we now know from brain science that there's basically 5 kinds of pain that will arise when processing breaks down in your brain. And when you know to recognize what kind of pain is present here, then we know the solutions that actually work. And I suspect all of us can probably relate to times where we've tried to use a tool because it was in our tool belt and it just didn't work. And few things are as frustrating or defeating as trying to use tools and resources that just don't work. So, Christy, this lens of relational skills really does provide such a buffer and a tool for people to be able to get more mileage out of what they're doing.
That's amazing. I love it. And I have personally experienced it on the receiving end and on the giving end. So yeah, this stuff is so good. So we want to look at maybe some common scenarios that a counselor would be faced with. And maybe you can give us just a short snippet of how the relational skills might help. So a biggie, right, is unresolved conflict or relational issues where people just can't get along. How might the skills help with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you know what? Conflict is a big one that counselors face on a regular basis. Ultimately, part of the challenge with conflicts is just people are hurt, people are angry, people are feeling a lot of different emotions, and these emotions are big and these emotions are loud. And most likely people are kind of stuck in the brain's version of enemy mode. And enemy mode is when I'm going to be severely impaired from being able to use my set of relational skills. And as we talked about capacity, in enemy mode, I don't have a lot of capacity. I just feel like, someone sitting across from me or next to me is the bad guy. And I just wish that they would get away or stop talking. So, when you help somebody with an active conflict, for one, you've got to be really good at staying anchored yourself. So you need to have your oxygen mask on so that you're relationally present, so that your brain's in the relational sweet spot, as I call it, where your relational circuits are on. And what this does is this helps you to be able to use a whole wide variety of skills so that you can quiet, and you can help those who are in the active conflict be able to help them quiet and rest. And when people need a breather, like that's a foundational skill, is recognizing, what, the mouths are running, but we're not filtering it. And so we just need to take a moment to pause. We need to get relational again. So, these relational skills really help you know when is a good time to take a pause. How can you empower those in the conflict to be able to stay relational while they navigate this conflict? How to help them get back to joy, how to be able to help them have what we'd call clear mind sight, right? The leaky mind sight is usually a term that we're familiar with when the past invades the present. So recognizing that, wow, we got to be able to help people understand the minds of others who are sitting across from them. So even if you're the source of my pain, mind sight is my ability to better understand what you're thinking, be able to put myself in your shoes, and to be able to recognize how I would feel if I were in your shoes, so I can better interpret you. And so in a conflict, that's a crucial skill. How can you help people be able to put themselves in one another's shoes? And I'll be honest with you, one of the best skills is really the book that I wrote called The Joy Switch. One of the foundational skills is helping people quickly get back into relational mode when they slip and fall in enemy mode. You can pretty much guarantee, as long as we're in enemy mode, we're not going to be able to get our footing. So you want to help people be able to get relational, be able to quiet, be able to try to understand what's going on in the other person, and really try to be creative again. Creativity is gone when we're in enemy mode. And so what I'm excited about, people learning relational skills is the conflict provides, the relational skills provide a way out of the conflict, a way to land that plane safely so that you can help people get back to glad to be together, joy again. And those are just a few skills, but those would be foundational skills to help people find joy in the midst of their pain and their upset.
That's so good. I love that. And so another example would be, and I know this is a common one, but pain and trauma. And I know, Chris, like you have worked with people through about as deep as you can go on the trauma spectrum. And so probably as counselors, there's some things that can just be intimidating to help someone walk through because of the level of trauma involved in it. But how have the relational skills helped you even in helping people navigate through these really, really dark places?
Yeah, one of the one of the hidden blessings of working with people with really severe trauma is you learn quickly what you're missing. And so I learned a lot when I first started working with people, what I was missing. So what I'm grateful for with relational skills, is that when you're sitting with people who are in a lot of pain or just who are stuck in an emotion, if you don't have the relational skills, you will inevitably try to fix the pain, inevitably minimize the pain, which only makes that fire worse, because the moment people feel alone in their pain, it now becomes even harder to deal with. So as counselors and helpers, one of the roles is really to be a present resource for people so they feel seen, they feel validated, they feel heard and they feel understood. And we have to get really good at being able to stay our relational selves when we're afraid or when we're hopeless or when we're feeling shame or when we're stuck, when a negative emotion is present. Relational skills help us not only be our relational selves so that we can actually be helpful, but it also helps us be able to navigate that with people in a way that helps guide them back to relational joy. So in a sense, as all lifeguards learn, when somebody's drowning, if you're not supposed to just jump in there and try to pull them out, because inevitably their survival circuit will pull you under. So, but what you do need to do is throw them a line or throw them a life jacket, a life preserver, throw them something that's going to help them. And then you bring them back to shore, you bring them back to the boat. Excuse me. So relational skills really are that line that when people are drowning, we help them be able to get their feet under them. And we help them to even be able to not only get relational and be able to quiet, be able to rest, be able to practice appreciation, as you said, Christy, but also be able to see some of what God sees in that distress. And so ultimately, as a counselor, we have to be able to practice those skills so that we can then lead others into those skills. Otherwise, unfortunately, no matter how big our hearts, if we're not equipped with the skills, we will, as I said, we will end up shutting people down, which can make the pain worse. And unfortunately, when I first got into counseling, that happened because there were certain skills I did not have. And even good intentions weren't enough. And so thankfully, learning relational skills helps people stay present as you join people in their sufferings. And joy's around the corner when you can stay anchored like that.
Wow, that's great. No, and it's so hopeful, because there is one thing I've noticed, that there is a lack of counselors that have the experience to go to the really hard places. And I know that's probably one of your passions, is let's get more counselors that have the capacity and the skill set to be able to go there with people. Yeah. So it's very it's very encouraging to know that there really is hope in equipping counselors so that they can go to those hard places.
You're exactly right, Christy. I can't tell you how many friends I've had that have gone to see counselors only to have it blow up inevitably because the counselor just didn't have the skills. And then I could see the effects on my friends who reached out, tried to get help, and it just kind of blew up in their faces. Most of us aren't excited to get near the campfire again when we've been burned before. And so the good news about relational skills is it really helps us to be effective. And above all, it just helps us be able to love well and to be a good available resource for people.
Awesome. So we're going to move on in a second, but I want to throw out one more scenario, and maybe you can just give us a little bite on this, because I know this, I'd love to hear more than a bite, but we're going to have to be brief on it. But addictions, this is huge. I mean, there are so many things that people are addicted to nowadays. How do the relational skills help you as a counselor walk someone through an addiction?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, addictions are the brain's way of trying to solve a problem, right? And so ultimately the problem I'm trying to solve is how to feel better. And so counselors really need relational skills if you're going to effectively help people be able to work through addictions, because part of addiction recovery requires that I'm able to better manage what I feel. So there's specific emotions my brain has to learn to get back to joy from. And as we talked about the 5 kinds of pain earlier, we also have to help people be able to process pain, particularly the pain of broken attachments, the pain of attachment, attachments gone wrong. And that is kind of the fuel that drives addiction. So counselors, the better you're equipped with these relational skills, the better you're going to be able to equip those that you serve so their brain can learn to hold on to joy and rest and peace instead of going after those substitutes. So that's foundational.
Good. So let's talk practical. We've got a lot of counselors and therapists, like I said, coaches, pastors that are part of our Thrive Today family and audience. And as people are here and this is resonating with them, what are the first steps that they can take to begin to use these skills in their practice? And I'll pitch this out there first. Can a counselor be spreading these skills to people in their practice if they themselves have not first acquired and developed them?
You know, that's an excellent point. Excellent question, Christy. Like ultimately, if I don't have the skill, then I can't effectively train you in the skill. So one of the most common things I tell counselors is you've got to learn these skills yourself so that you can effectively train people in those skills. And here's the good news. The good news is if you have the skill, you will use it. So if you have it, you will use it. And you will use it when you're interacting with those that you serve. Because other people learn relational skills in a couple ways. One is you show me how it's done. So I see you, and that helps my brain go, oh, that's how it looks. Another way would be you telling me stories of how you've been able to do something. And that story also gives my brain the practice and go, oh, that's how it looks. The other way is that you use the skill with me when you're interacting with me. So when I'm stuck in hopeless despair, if you know how to get back to joy, as well as be your relational self, as you interact with me, that is basically giving my brain the example and the model to go, oh, that's how. So what it does is it's planting seeds that we can build on over time. So foundational friends, you've got to have the skills and you've got to, have them to some degree in order to help people learn those. But the good news is as you learn these skills, you strengthen these skills, you will use them, you will be able to effectively help people learn those skills. And that is life-changing for people. Like that's good news. So this is an invitation, Christy, for people to really join us in this process of growing and spreading relational skills. Like this is possible.
Well, it seems like, and you've hit on this a little bit, but it seems like there's so many benefits for the counselors out there to getting these skills because number one, you said like if they have it, they'll naturally spread it. But also they're going to reap the personal benefits in their own personal life, their own relationships. And again, I think you touched on this, but this is going to help them to be more resilient. Counselors, I'm sure, go home exhausted, stressed out, carrying grief, burdens. Yeah. So, do even these skills help with processing some of the stuff that they're carrying?
You know what? I think a lot of loving counselors feel the weight of walking with people day in and day out and listening, watching and joining them in their stories. And the work is gold. What an honor that we get to do that. However, it drains the battery. And, it's a good reminder that we can only give what we've received. So as we learn relational skills, we will use them in our own relationships, our own lives. And you know what I'm thrilled about relational skills is with just a little bit of practice, you can provide that buffer into your life, into your days, so that your fuel tank is getting filled, as well as while you help other people to be able to fill theirs as well. So like something like appreciation is just one of those skills that you would want to, if we practice that regularly, daily, with people, even as part of our counseling, as well as with our family and our friends, that's just one skill. Then you've got like the skill of resting and quieting. Most of us are pretty bad at quieting at the end of the day. We're just need a little more work. And so as we are able to actually insert some very simple practices and habits into our days, what you will find is you'll come home with a smile on your face instead of just feeling dread. And that, you know what, I've been there and I know how it feels to come home and you don't even want to interact with anybody. And there's just not a lot of joy there. But imagine being able to come home and your joy tank is full. There's a smile on your face and you're just ready to be relational with the people that you love. That's what we're after here.
That's really great. So we want to talk about some resources we have. And I think as we do that, Chris, I'm going to let you chime in with suggestions of how a counselor might use this for themselves and for their clients. But we just want to give you some next steps, some things that you can do to start getting the relational skills in your practice, or maybe you are already using them to some extent, but you want to go a little bit deeper. And we have some amazing resources that have been coming out this year that we would like to be able to offer to you. So again, like Chris was saying, we first want to get trained. We first want to get these skills going in a, alive, active, developed in us. And then we want to be able to spread them and equip other people. And so Chris mentioned his book, The Joy Switch, and we really I can't recommend this book enough. And we actually have some counselor friends. I mean, they have just been through the roof excited about this book because it's such a great introduction to the relational skills, The Joy Switch. And so Chris, as far as, well, let me just say, first of all, just so you know, this book is very short. It's a very easy read. And then Chris has exercises at the end of each chapter. So it's also very practical. But Chris, if a counselor wanted to, would you recommend they first read it, do the exercises, and then is this a good recommendation they could give to clients to be able to go through as well?
You know what? That's exactly right. I would recommend, counselors, this is good for you because what it does is it helps you to be in the best, your most optimal brain state as you serve other people. So it helps you to hold on to your joy, to keep your brain's relational circuit on. And you're right, Christy, those exercises are so good, for capacity building. One thing that's crucial for counselors and just general for people to understand is, in order to process the hard stuff, I have to have emotional capacity. If I don't have emotional capacity to try to process pain and work through the hard stuff, I'm going to get crispy really fast. So you want to actually help people build some emotional capacity to better be able to navigate the hard things and work through the hard stuff. So what I like about the Joy Switch is this is like your relational life preserver. This provides opportunities to build capacity, which gives us strength to navigate the hard stuff and to work through trauma and so forth. So yeah, I would say counselors, use it for you, but let your clients also use it because this is a great way for them to build capacity. And quite frankly, the counseling is going to go immensely better when you have people who can learn how to get out of enemy mode and get back into relational mode. Night and day. This is the foundational skill I teach every counselor, every client, every leadership team. This is what we call skill 0 of the 19 skills, but we have to have this skill in place in order to use the rest of the 19 skills. So yep, use it, share it, enjoy it.
And we're getting lots of testimonies of how just this one thing is like changing marriages. It's like light bulbs are turning on. It's been really powerful. So the other thing that Chris has been developing, and I have Thrive Today, the Thinkific site. You can also go to thrivetoday.org/online courses. I should have put that there as well to see our online courses. But Chris has been developing several courses and they're focused on the skills. So he has a few skill 0 courses, and we highly recommend the Habit Builder. This is kind of like, we've got the biggie that has 4 sections in it. And then there's, I think, 3 exercises that Chris leads you in within each of the sections. So he's your personal coach. He takes you through the exercises. He has some coaching videos. It's a really fabulous course. So for those of you in the counseling field, we highly recommend you check out our Skill 0 Habit Builder course. Get that going, do the exercises yourself. And then Chris, you were talking about how then they could even take those exercises into their practice and do it with people to help model. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, what's very helpful is in counseling, you're not just helping people work through stuff. You actually want to empower them and support them as they learn relational skills so that they can basically be a better version of themselves and hold on to joy and peace. So what I like about these habit builder courses is this is working the muscles. This is building capacity. This is strengthening relational skills. And I had a lot of fun developing this, Christy, because as you said, I walk people through, there's a strategy and there's, a flow here to really master some of these relational skills. So highly recommend you do these, many of these exercises with those that you serve. It's empowering them. It's helping equip them so that their brain learns these relational skills, because you're not always going to be there as they live life, right? They might have one session a week with you or every other week. So the goal is to help them learn relational skills so that they can do this stuff on their own with their family, and they can create belonging around them within their communities.
That's great. And then, I also want to mention, because I'm sure you all have go-getters that are just like, I will pay the money, I will give the time, I will do what needs to be done because they're so motivated and eager and hungry. Those are people that you might want to refer to take these courses on their own, because we've got just such fabulous wealth of resources for them. And sorry, I'm actually doing a webinar right now, baby. Okay. It's real life, people. Let's be real.
We've got families ourselves. My kids will be home 82nd.
We do.
Coming in my door. So
this is me exercising, keeping my relational circuits on when my kids coming in, and I'm like, how do I get them to leave without being rude? Or it's all good. We'll keep it real. So anyway, if for those people that are really hungry and just want to dive in, these courses could be great to say, hey, go take this course, dive in. We can talk about it, see how it's going, do some exercises together. Yeah. So the last thing is, and as we've mentioned, this is a passionate spot for Chris. And we hope to have more resources to be able to offer to those of you in the counseling field. And so if you want to stay updated on what we're doing specifically for those of you in this arena, you can go to bit.ly/Thrive Counselors, and you'll just sign up for our email list that is specifically geared on communicating with those of you that are working in this field. And we would love to keep you updated. And we're very excited to see what we can do to come alongside you and support you. Because honestly, I'll just say this, what you all do in the counseling field is so crucial. We need you, our world needs you. And our hope is to be a support and to fill you up, to bless you, to give you what you need so you can do what you're called to do and you can bless the people around you. And so you can know you're not alone in this journey, because I imagine a lot of times you might feel really alone in the things that you're walking others through. And so we're here to say, hey, we're here with you, and we are glad to be alongside you and support you and pour into you on your journey. So we hope that this has been helpful. Chris, would you like to say anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, you said it well, Christy, and I'll just reiterate that, all of us become counselors, coaches, therapists, whatever it is, pastors, that we do because we want to help people, and we want to see people be the best versions of themselves, to be the people that God created them to be. So when you invest in yourself with relational skills, you're investing in those that you serve. And so this is a golden opportunity. I've had this on my heart for some time. I want to see counselors equipped because you are changing the world. So look forward to what God's going to do here.
Wonderful. Well, we hope that this has been helpful. If you have questions or need more information, you can reach out to us at info@thrivetoday.org. In the meantime, please grab your copy of the Joy Switch if you don't already have it, and check out our online courses. We hope that they'll be a blessing to you. Hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.